Yeah, man. Welcome to the Money and Velli podcast right there. Man, I'm your co-host Money.
Yes, sir. And I'm your co-host, Velli.
Yeah, man. And we're on this episode 17 right here. Black Swans and Red Flags.
Yes, sir. Y'all see the title. Y'all see the picture.
Yeah.
Look like emergency.
Right. And the fact that it's black and red too. Deadly combination right there.
Exactly. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about in this one. A lot.
Yeah, you see the warning sign. So and then the fact that there's 10 of them at that. So you know there's a lot to talk about. Oh man. So and those of you who've been there early, you know, y'all getting the dangers of the market vibes. So that's the type of stuff we'd be on. But remember, this channel is partially truth and philosophy. So, you know, we ain't afraid to get gritty, you know, just a little bit.
Yes, sir. And don't mind me smoking. So
yeah, it's in the cover art too, so you already know he's smoking. Right in front of that big gym.
we ain't got no guest on here this time. So I can smoke.
Yeah, so he can smoke.
I usually want to keep it most as professional as possible.
Right.
So
oh man, you want Velli mode now?
Yeah. I gotta smoke. What's funny is looking back at those videos, I can see I'm still either holding the lighter or I'm holding the black and like, what's this supposed to be a coping method? Like,
oh man, crazy man, crazy. Now I know some of y'all are gonna be looking at this weird, be like, man, why is two swans on this cover page? What's that got to do with stocks and cryptos and all this? Because you know a lot of people don't know what a black swan event is. You know, so you already know what the red flags are, so you already know that's a warning sign. But that's why we're going to be covering what a black swan is first, you know, which is going to be on the next slide.
Yes, sir. So let's hop right into it. What is a black swan event? Now, the definition for it is a black swan is an unpredictable event that is beyond what is normally expected of a situation and has potentially severe consequences. Basically, it's just an unpredictable event. And we really mean unpredictable. No one knew it was going to happen. No one knew what was it about. A lot of times people might say they had an inkling of it, this and that. They foretold this was coming. But sometimes it's false claims. For the most part, nobody knew what was going to happen. So.
That's true. That's true. Now, there are warning signs, you know, that can tell you a black swan is coming, but you won't know exactly what it is, you know, because like Velli said and read, you know, it is an unpredictable event. And yes, it causes damage, you know, after that. And we're gonna show some examples like right after this too. Like a while, you know, kind of explain what happened in the past, you know, so y'all can have a clear understanding of when y'all actually because some of y'all looked at a black swan event before. Yeah, you know, y'all faced it, y'all just didn't know what it was, you know, or the proper term for it.
Right. And to touch up even a little more on it, I'll hit the last point. Is a black swan events can cause catastrophic damage to an economy by negatively impacting markets and investments. But even the use of robust modeling cannot prevent a black swan event. So like Money said, something catastrophic. It hurts the markets. It hurts the economy. And we've been through a few black swan events. And we'll go to the next slide, which is examples of black swans.
Exactly. And the first example, and actually a major example, is COVID.
Yes, sir. Because look, for one thing, the common folk, most of us didn't know COVID was happening, or even it was going to happen. And even when we first heard of it, we just thought, oh, it's going to be like maybe the swine flu or the bird flu. It'll pass over eventually. Like, who would have thought we would go through all this stuff and COVID? I know we talked about COVID a lot and past recent news or dangers of the market, things like that. But it was such a catastrophic event that's why we keep talking about it. So many examples you can lay the foundation on with COVID, because COVID was extremely catastrophic. So many things happened with it. Just think of it, just shutting down the nation. Just that alone.
Oh, yeah, literally a lot of places shut down, and then even we were stuck in our homes for a while too.
Exactly. At one point, we even had curfew.
We even had a curfew. Like, you know how bad that is. Like, I literally had to print out a sheet because I was still working at my job, but I was forced to work graveyard shift, just because of COVID. And we literally had to print out a sheet that we had to show to the officer just in case we get stopped because of a curfew. Glad I didn't have to use it, but I had to keep it in my glove compartment because we had
Exactly.
curfew.
All of that because of COVID.
Exactly. And then, oh my God, like COVID was so bad, like people couldn't even say it on YouTube.
Yeah, we even had censorship. Yeah, should we even be saying that?
Yeah, should we even be saying that? I
I
think
don't
they
know.
would like
I don't know. They're
some
still locking down people
people.
for that, man.
Oh man. Like that's crazy. Some people had to say the C word.
They would
Had to
start
censor
saying
themselves.
C-19.
C19 or C19. I mean, it was really bad, and it's still affecting us to this day. Like we're a couple of years away from 2020. I know that was a horrible year, but that's still affecting us to this day because a lot, like we're going through like a lot of shortages right now.
I don't think it's
Uh,
as bad. I haven't really kept up with it. I don't think it's as bad as when COVID was just hitting the front lines, just the forerunner of everything. So I don't think it was necessarily as bad as it is back then. We're still having a lot of shortages.
yeah, we're still feeling the effects of it. It ain't 2020 right now. 2020 was way worse, but we're still feeling the effects of it. Like even after a couple of years, that's just how bad it is.
Yeah, because think about it. For one, since 2020, we've recently finally some majority of states have gotten rid of the whole mask mandate. But just think about it. For almost 2 years, we've been wearing masks. Places have been
Yep.
shut down. Unemployment was at a high rate. And we know, well, I mean, unemployment, everybody was working for the government. We're getting them government checks. Everybody getting them government checks.
I know you was milking it too for the longest.
Because I can't say another guy. I was out of a job too. So, hey,
For the longest time, you was milking that unemployment.
unfortunately, that's just the way everything worked because of COVID. I wouldn't say it was fortunate. Definitely wasn't fortunate, but I was fortunate enough to still, receive payments for it. And a lot of people were, because a lot of people were way worse off than me. A lot of
Exactly.
people. So even with the shortages, all of that, because like I said, when it first came out, I want to say, what do we want to say? We want to say like January. We'll say February for the sake of it. We'll just say February, beginning of 2020. When it first hit, again, we didn't necessarily. Who thought the country was shut down? Other nations in the world was shut down, and the mask mandate and curfew. No one thought that any of these things would happen. No one thought any of these events would happen. This is why it's a perfect black swan. I don't think it's ever happened within the history of the nation.
And that's crazy too. I mean, Italy was definitely catching it, with the lockdowns. I mean, people were so bored. They like everybody was, out their windows singing. That's how bad it was. It was
Exactly.
a pandemic. It wasn't just the United States that got affected. It wasn't just us. The whole world. It was literally a pandemic. That was crazy. Nobody expected any of this.
Exactly. And next time, let me not say next time, when we
Right.
get into certain events, world-changing events, whether it's I don't know, a great war, another pandemic, whatever the case is, please grab your essentials first. What I mean by that is when it first hit, you know what my first thought was? People are going to get the water, they're going to get the food, but most importantly, they're going to get medicine. They're going to get medical supplies. They're going to get the Tylenol, the ibuprofen, things of that nature. I was thinking those would fly off the shelf first, not toilet paper. Don't get me wrong. Toilet paper is very important. It is very important. But I need water and I need medical supplies if I want to survive this, and food. I live out in the country, so if it was ever pushed to that extent that it's that bad, I can get food out in the country. I'm in the country, I can go hunt, whatever. Get your medical supplies. Stop worrying about the toilet paper.
Exactly. People was panic buying the top. Like it was so bad. People was using paper towels, and the plumbers made a killing because they done messed up their toilets.
Exactly.
Because they had no toilet paper to buy.
And you see how that worked in the market? Toilet paper price shot up. See how influences and different things can affect the markets, and that was one of them. But I did not think toilet paper would be flying off the shelf. As I assume medical supplies, water, food, because those are the essentials. Again, don't get me wrong. Toilet paper is very important. We all need that. Put it out there, but that's not the first thing I expect to fly off the shelves.
And it's crazy because we talked about this like years ago when we like first started working with each other. You was like, what is the most important things when it comes to survival? Toilet paper.
And it's funny, I said that. I said, okay, you can get your medicine, but make sure you stock up on toilet paper. But
people
get
went
your
overboard.
Medical supplies first. Yeah, they went overboard. I'm like, how do I still see medicine on the shelves? Why do I still see water there? Why is all the toilet paper gone? I need some too. Like,
oh man, I literally seen people like run in a circle. Like I've seen the same people over and over again. Like that. That's how they was all over the place looking for water and toilet paper. Like they was shouting and everything. We ain't got no water. We ain't got no toilet paper. In the background. Oh my god!
Not the first thing I expect to fly off the shelf. But
oh man,
yeah, but
and
again,
that affected the market too, man.
Yeah, that's really affected
the first
the market.
year.
But that's what I mean. Things can affect the market, and this was a perfect black swan event. No one was prepared for COVID. The world was not prepared for COVID. We're not saying we should always, but again, you didn't think the world would be locked down because of that. I don't think we've ever faced something as severe as this in multitude of generations. Nothing as severe as this. So COVID is a perfect example of a black swan. The next example would be company decisions. It's on a smaller scale, but at the same time, it can be compared to it because certain mogul companies, these giant tech companies or any type of company, when they make certain decisions, it can affect the world or it can affect the market. A lot of times it's both. So
yeah, that is true. Yeah, that is true because like what you see on this presentation right here, you see COVID, but the picture right beside it, is a perfect definition of Terraform Labs. Because that's going to be a big part of the company decision parts of a Black Swan event. Because nobody, I mean, yeah, people was kind of expecting Tether, but nobody was expecting Terraform Labs to fall like that first. Because it was like a mini Tether time bomb. Because I already explained Tether like in the previous videos, but this company decisions did affect the market because what happened with them, like we've been in the crash, no, we've been in the bear market ever since because Terraform Labs is responsible for these two cryptocurrencies, which is the Terra UST, which is a stable coin, and then there's the Luna token also, which I explained in good news and bad news, so we're taking it back a little bit, but this is exactly an example of a Black Swan event. So I'm gonna kind of run it back a little bit because with Terraform Labs, their decision was to make a stable coin that wasn't backed. Like they didn't have what USDC had, but they had something called the arbitrage mechanism where they try to make it work. Keep the price stable in their own way. Which is backed by the arbitrage mechanism, which these two coins, the Terra UST and then the Luna token, rely on each other, to keep the price stable. And then the Luna goes up, and the Terra UST, is pegged 1-to-1 ratio with the dollar. But what happened was they couldn't even keep up with it, and then as soon as that failed, then the value of both those coins went down. Now, a stable coin going down is very, very bad, and it actually went down a lot. Now, so if you invested in Terra Luna, then if you invested $1 million, which I said before, then you would have ended up with $3. That's how bad it was. I mean, that alone, just that alone was like billions of dollars lost, but it was responsible for a $200 million loss in a whole crypto market alone. And then and then when the crypto market drops that bad, the stock market could drop that bad too. Because people are dabbing in both. And they need that money back.
And the fact
we've
is
been in
just
the
money in the market, it'll affect each other.
And we've been in the bear market ever since. Nobody expected, Terra to go through that. And then if you've seen the good news, bad news videos, like you would have seen how much of a domino effect it was, like in more detail. Because I did say we've been in the bear market ever since. But like if you do the research, like companies like crypto hedge companies like 3AC, other exchanges was giving them, a whole lot of money, like hundreds of millions of dollars, each to, for them to do something with that money. And then what they did, they put it into Terra Luna and lost all of it. And that created a domino effect where they was freezing people's accounts because they couldn't give them their money back.
And all that happened from company decisions.
Yeah, so that's a perfect definition of a black swan event. Like people suffering because of this.
Yeah, and it might not seem like a lot, but missing 200 billion is an enormous amount of money within the markets. That is an enormous amount. So again, that's why that's a black swan event. Another one, if y'all want to look at, I won't even go into detail of it, will be like the .com bubble burst. That was a major event years ago. I don't know. Maybe
like 90s,
we'll
right?
That in the future. I think I can't remember.
Yeah. It was like in the 90s, right? Yeah, because that was back in the day too.
I can't remember. I just remember hearing about doing research on it a long time ago. So
like I heard about it too.
Maybe we gotta do a future episode on that. Who knows?
Oh man.
We'll see about that. And another black swan example would be political moves. And what we mean by that, well, again, it won't be company decisions. It'll be political decisions or personal decisions by people within government officials. You forget people in politics and that are in the government official system, their decisions affect the nation. All their small decisions and big decisions affect the nation. So those are good examples of a black swan event. There's other examples of political moves, whether it be from a president or, like I said, just from other political figures. Whatever they do, they affect the world. Some things might be behind the scenes. Some things just might be in the forefront. It might have seemed like a good idea or they had good intentions. But those political moves affect us and cause black swan events. And there are probably numerous within history. So let's hop into the next slide.
Yep. So we done told you what black swan events are, so you should like look back or either that or in the future, because I know more is going to happen. And like next time you see one that oh, okay, so that's what they was talking about. Now we're going to talk about the red flags that can actually lead up to one. And then speaking of like political moves, we're going to go into the Trust in Congress Act, the HR 33-6. So that's one of the red flags there, because like they about to, well, they're talking about putting out a bill that keeps politicians, like by the same politicians that keeps politicians from insider trading. Now that automatically, something is up with that. Why? Like that's the first question, and why?
That sounds good. It stops them from insider trading. But again,
Right.
this is pushed by the politics that do this, the politicians that all do this. So that should be a red flag in itself. And to get the difference, a black swan is unpredictable. Red flags are things, it gives you a flag, it gives you a hint. Hold up, wait a minute, something's not right with this situation. Those are red flags. I won't say they're predictable, but they gives you hints into the future or what things that can happen. When red flags pop up, keep your eyes open, keep everything peeled, pay attention to things. These are what red flags are for. A lot of things that happen in history, there are red flags that if you caught and paid attention to, you see where generally what it could lead to, or you knew it would be a dangerous situation if we let it continue. Red flags are important. Keep your eyes out for red flags. So
Yeah, that
trust in the
is true.
Congress is a red flag in itself, and we'll discuss about it later. So the next point would be the Mount Gox repayment plan.
Yeah, that is a red flag right there too. Because if you know anything about Mount Gox, or at least heard of it, people lost a lot of their money, storing their cryptos in that site. Mainly Bitcoin. And it's just like, and it's just like the story I told y'all. Those of you who watched the older episodes when we was talking about like the dangers of the market, but we was talking about like the Canadian version of Mount Gox, like that Searching for the King of Cryptos documentary that's on Netflix. It's the same thing with Mount Gox, for real. The same thing. People lost a lot of Bitcoin in that. Now they're talking about a repayment plan. So like those are the people. So if the people get repaid, I mean, that's going to be a red flag there, because most likely they're going to dump, because those are the early investors of Bitcoin. But we'll talk more about it in the other slide though.
Yes, sir. We'll get back to that point eventually. And the
Yep.
next red flag you all need to be paying attention to, or example, will be midterm elections. Again, don't really care which side. I'm not into politics that much, but there's a reason midterm elections are a red flag. We'll get into it later, but midterm elections are very important. Who you decide to pick, or not even that, it's just the fact that somebody is in there. There's certain people running are red flags. It doesn't matter which side. We're just talking about from a market standpoint, from an economic standpoint, concerning the markets itself. Those things within itself are a red flag.
Yeah,
Next
because
one.
notice, oh my God, notice something that always happens around election day, whether it's President Day, election day, or midterm election day, something always is going on around that time.
Exactly. Something always goes on, regardless of who's in it or who wins or who loses. Something always goes on. So pay attention to midterm elections or any type of election. Keep your eye out for that. The next red
Yep.
flag would be monkeypox. Now, the reason this isn't a black swan is because we've already dealt with COVID. We've understood the severity of COVID. We've been through the terrible events and heard the terrible news and lived through COVID. So I won't say we know what to expect. It's just the fact we know the potential of certain things or events that can happen in the future. Monkeypox would be an example. COVID wouldn't be a red flag. We already dealt with COVID, and that was a black swan because we never faced anything like that. Since we basically kind of already gotten through the worst part of it, monkeypox would be a red flag. Just keep your eye out for that. We're not saying this and that or how bad it's going to be. We don't know. We will say we haven't heard much about it. Maybe at least from where we're at, we haven't heard much about it.
And that's crazy too, because it was declared a state of emergency not too long ago, especially by California and New York. And that now we're not, people are not talking about it. So I mean, like the people who I talked to about it even said that's weird too. Even
Yeah,
we're saying that's weird. All of a sudden people are not talking about it.
yeah. Think about it. We just got done with COVID, and now we got something else coming. We don't know how bad it is. It could just blow over. We don't know. But the fact that it's just stopped, we just got over COVID, and we're having this whole monkeypox situation. We're not hearing too much about it after the fact that it was blown up for a little bit. I don't know. That's a little bit of a red flag. We could be worrying for
Yeah.
nothing. We could be worrying for nothing. That's cool too. But just keep your eye out. Red flags. Don't ignore the obvious sometimes. If you have certain
Right.
clues, you may not know what it means now. Just put it on your shelf for right now. Just put it to the side for right now. We'll remember this later. But that's a very important thing. Monkeypox is a red flag. Another red flag will be Bitcoin. Now, we've all talked about Bitcoin. We all know what Bitcoin is. But if anyone hasn't heard the recent news, again, who knew Bitcoin dropped again?
Yeah, it did. And then, and we'll take it back to the, good news and bad news episode when we was talking about like Tesla dumping Bitcoin. And then now you're talking about Richard Hart, who usually calls the top. Now it's calling the bottom for Bitcoin also. And then remember, like these type of people like knows like usually know something that we don't, when they're like when they have that much money, and then when they up there too. And some just know what they're talking about for real.
Yeah, they do. And I wouldn't say strange, but eventually, I'm not going to say this is the instance for it right now, but just me personally, my personal opinion, just me. Again, I don't think it's going to be, this is not the event for it right now, but eventually, I think Bitcoin is just price wise, eventually be wiped out. That's my personal opinion. I just don't see it lasting that long, but I could absolutely be wrong. But at one point, it's funny during the whole COVID session, Bitcoin was up around what 60, close to 70K. Now, after the years of COVID blown over, it's just been in a terrible bear run. A terrible bear run, terrible downtrend.
Right. Because I mean, like what both of us agree on is, Bitcoin is like the prototype, of what like how much potential, the crypto currency market could have, because it was the first to be out, the first to do what it does, introduce what decentralization looks like, which means, there's no middleman because it was the first to show that you can pay somebody, without having a bank account on there. Like it's just you and the program, you and the smart contract. And it is the godfather of all cryptos. And I'm glad it went up that high to show like what the crypto market can do. But then again, it is outdated, and it's going to have its time where something is going to replace it. Bars, you know.
Yeah.
So, so we ain't talking bad about Bitcoin. We're just saying it, for what we think it is, just based on what we already know about it.
Right. And like Money said, I just see Bitcoin is more is done its job. It is
Yep.
the progenitor. It is the godfather, the grandfather, whatever you want to call it. But I think eventually his job will come to an end. It's ran its race. I just see Bitcoin as a stepping stone. It was a stepping stone for everything else. It created the foundation for everything else, if you will. But eventually it has to come to an end. And many others see Bitcoin as like a bubble that's just ready to burst. So
True.
that in itself, just Bitcoin hovering around that 19K area, it could shoot up again, which I wouldn't be surprised. It's done it before, but eventually, I think it's just going to come to an end. My personal opinion, I'm with the other experts, just saying it's a bubble that's ready to pop. So we'll be waiting to see what the outcome of Bitcoin be in the future. But let's head to the next slide, which is we'll go in a little bit of detail of what Trust and Congress Act, or the HR 336. Now, essentially, this bill it is to require members of Congress and their spouses and dependent children to place certain assets into blind trusts and for other purposes. Essentially, this bill puts a stop to insider trading from politicians and government officials. And as you see at the bottom of this picture, it says the same thing: requires members of Congress and their families to put their investments into a blind trust during their time in Congress to prevent insider trading. Now, again, earlier we were saying this is a red flag. How is this a good thing and how is this a red flag? A good thing, it stops politicians from insider trading, which is them having holdings of stocks, any type of thing, forex probably, futures, things like that. It puts a stop to that from them from trading, and requires them to have a blind trustee. They don't know who the person is. They won't have any association with said member of Congress. It will just be a blind trust where they will hold their fundings. I don't know if the blind trust will still be trading their assets or they're just holding it and let it appreciate and depreciate. I think they will still be able to hold mutual funds. Political figures will still be able to hold mutual funds and things of that nature. Okay, I think bonds as well, because that's basically just an IOU government debt, so they'll still be able to do that. But as far as insider trading, it supposedly is to put a stop to that.
Yeah, and that's crazy too. And shout out to Quiver Quant and Bearable Bull for opening our eyes to this, along with everybody else's that view too. But yeah, this is kind of strange too, because like we mentioned before, this is the same people that's been doing this insider trading is putting out this bill, which sounds backwards already, but they rather trust a blind trust instead of making all that money that they usually been doing.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Like
where
for real.
the people that make their money from this are pushing for this bill to be made. Doesn't that sound kind of strange? The same
Yeah,
people
yeah,
that
that's
make their money from this, it's almost like they're turning a new leaf. You know what? We should have been doing this. We need to stop this some way, somehow. Let's make a bill so I won't be able to make no money. Like, you know how weird that sounds? Like, huh? Now,
yeah.
we could be worrying for nothing. That's truly possible. That's highly possible. We could be worrying for nothing, or it could be, this is just something to get the masses off their back. What I mean by that is just to kind of distract everybody. Like, oh yeah, we're doing this trust in the Congress. We won't do insider trading, and they talk about the bill here and there, and nothing becomes of it. It just kind of disappears, fades into the background, or they'll say, they couldn't reach an agreement anywhere in the discussion, so they'll push the bill back. That could happen too, or they really could be pushing for this, and the bill gets erected. The problem with that is this is their moneymaker. So where are they migrating to? Where will they get their money? What market will they move into? What schemes do they have behind the scenes? This is why this is a red flag. We don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, we don't know what they're doing. We don't know what they know. And then this could be a sign that, something, I mean, we could be worrying for nothing, but this is a red flag too, because what exactly is going to happen that's making them doing, do this?
And real quick, disclaimer, we ain't green lighting nobody. This is just, this
No,
is
we're
just
not.
speculation from opinions.
Yeah, we just get you to think. That's it. That's it. And no, we ain't no conspiracy theorists neither. So don't even try.
We're just
Like
saying,
we're putting up.
this seems a little weird.
Yeah, yeah, this critical thinking right here. Because like we're looking at actual sources. We actually, I mean, we're not too political, but we read about certain things, and then we actually think while we're hearing or reading about this stuff.
Yeah, so there could be other people that are more well informed about this and have done extensive research on it and know more than us. We're not
Yeah.
saying that's possible. We know it's true because we've done some research on it. We haven't deeply dived into it. We just did some research and we're just going off of like making our own thesis and hypothesis and just literally just thinking about this. If this were the case, where would you get your money from? That is all. It's just opinions from us. Just thinking out loud. That's all. No conspiracy. This ain't no conspiracy theory
No,
thing.
no conspiracy. Please don't flag us. Even though there's red flags right here, don't put it
Yeah.
on us.
We ain't trying to green light nobody and don't flag us. We're just thinking out loud.
Oh man, yeah, we're just thinking out loud, like you decide. But yeah,
Exactly.
we're literally trying to get you to think about this stuff because some of this stuff. I mean, no, this is a fact. Some of the stuff don't even make no sense.
Yeah, this don't make no sense. I'm like, huh? And like I said,
uh,
we would have known nothing about it if I didn't see. And like I said, shout out to Quiver Quant. Go subscribe to him. If it weren't for
yeah,
him, I wouldn't even had an inkling of this happening. And shout out to Bearable Bull. Y'all
yeah, man.
too,
Shout
not
out to the
y'all
bearable
too,
bull.
but everybody go check those two out. Quiver Quant and the Bearable Bull.
Oh,
So shout out to
they be
them.
dropping some jewels too. Yeah, shout out to them.
And eventually I might have to do an episode on Quiver Quant or something even better than that. But because I like his
Yeah,
style.
yeah. I like his style too. It got me downloading and looking at a lot of his stuff too. And then I gotta make some like videos on each cryptos, that I think is a good buy anyway. I mean that's
Exactly.
coming up after the season ends though.
Yeah,
Well, we'll
maybe
explain
like
more of that.
definitely do a video of that because that's a different type of trading style, and that's why it goes into, and that's why I mean by everybody has a different trading style. Everybody does things different. So yeah, definitely go check those two out: the Bearable Bull and Quiver Quant.
Yes, sir.
So let's head on to the next slide. It's still talking about the Trust in Congress Act, and this is a post from you can check it out on CNBC.com. And this is from Nancy Pelosi. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Democratic leaders have green-lighted a plan to craft legislation that will prohibit members of Congress from trading stock after months of resistance to a ban by Pelosi, CNBC confirmed Wednesday. At Pelosi's direction, the House Administration Committee is working on drafting the rules, and the legislation is expected to be put up for a vote this year, likely before the November midterm elections. See how we're talking about midterm elections, and then they got this going on. Nothing could become of this. That's true. We could absolutely be worrying about nothing. We're just saying keep an eye out for stuff. Peep certain things. I'm not saying hop on it. Just be aware of certain things happening.
Exactly. And this is actually, as an example of us doing a research, type of stuff we come across. Like we literally put the site, like this is literally on the news. And then this is exactly what we're talking about. Like Velli said, like these people that's been doing this for like this insider trading for the longest time is verified right there. Nancy Pelosi out of all people. Like people made money copying off her trades and stuff too.
Exactly.
Because like she definitely an insider trader,
And at
and
one
she
point,
agreeing with
nothing
it.
wrong with that. It was just, I guess, the principle of it. Politicians trading stocks, but like Money said, people have made money off the way Nancy Pelosi has traded. That's another thing that goes into people trade different ways, or you gotta look at people at the top. Politicians trade stocks too, as you can see. Hitting my mic and everything. As you can
Right.
see, they trade. I won't say different. They have smart people around them. They have the inside knowledge, knowing what's going on with certain companies because they have to pass these bills. Think about when it comes to environmental things of that nature. So you can have somebody that's in part of the environments agreements and all that stuff that's in the house for that. They know what companies are going to create certain things or making moves to help make the world a better place, just a little bit better. They have that insider knowledge before a bill even gets created. So they can make plans to either purchase some stock from that company, sell it, whatever the case is. They can make their moves way ahead of time for any of us get an inkling of it. By the time we found out, they've already made their moves and put their pieces on the chessboard.
Exactly. And speaking of bills, some of them write the bills too. That'll get that company they invested in some extra money, and then that stock goes up, and then they trade that stock right away too.
Exactly. So another thing, this goes back to Quiver Quant. Sometimes you can watch politicians. I said that before. I don't know. Watch the politicians, see what they're doing. You can figure out some things. And Quiver Quant does that extremely well. And again, we'll probably cover that on another later episode sometime in the future.
And then midterm elections at that too. I really wanted to highlight it so bad. In November. Those of you
Yeah,
that already
November,
know. Yeah,
midterm
11/22.
elections.
Oh man, a
So a
lot of
lot of
stuff
things
happening.
going on in November, man. A lot
Crazy.
of things going on. But like I said, we did a little bit of research. We're not deep diving into it. If you can check out the bill on what was the site called? I forget. Oh, I remember now. Congress.gov. Again, you can look up H.R.336 or Trust in Congress Act. You can look it up and read the full bill there. But let's hop in to the next slide, which is midterm elections. Now, again, let's read this. Midterm elections. It is a red flag only because how it can influence the market. I've already said it earlier. Regardless of who wins, regardless of which side they're on, elections and things of that nature affect the market. They have an effect on the market. Certain companies or certain people win. And I mean that if they find out who is running, the market can go down, the market can go up. It just depends. Now, to the point who wins, I don't care. I just care about successful trades and planning and things of that nature and knowing what the context is of everything. I care about those things, not necessarily who wins, but because certain people might be in it, I know if the market can be influenced to go up or it'll be influenced to go down. That is the only reason why midterm elections are a red flag because how it can influence the market. Be careful of that. Watch out for that. If you're trading that day, I don't care. Be mindful of elections, things of that nature. When you're electing people in certain positions, when you're putting them in a higher power, regardless of who it is, the market can sway either way depending on who it is. Be careful of that and be mindful of that. That is the only reason for this slide was like to put out that disclaimer because it is very important. Very important. It can influence the market. Y'all heard me talking about influence of the market many, many times because that's very important.
Yep.
So,
You did say it several times too. Like we
yeah,
went over this several times, and then now we had to make it clear here. No, why is that a red flag? There's your answer right there.
it can influence the market. That's why it's red flag. No conspiracy. It's just because it can influence the market. Just be careful of that because you're in it to make successful trades or passive investing, knowing when a particular stock or company might drop in price. You got to be mindful of certain context, certain things that's going on in the world in your particular country or what's going on within your local area. Those things, elections, things of that nature, all that are red flags because it influence the market. So let's head into the next slide, which is Mount
Yep,
Gox
the final
favorite.
one. Yeah, the final one. Now, like I said earlier, Mount Gox, is
Take it
where a
away.
lot of people.
Take it
Yeah,
away.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's that exchange, just like the last exchange I was talking about, like in the dangers of the market, part one. For those of you that viewed, that this site mysteriously crashed, and then people lost all their coins that they stored on there. Then stored on the wallet. It was buying the coins and then storing them on there. So people lost a lot of Bitcoin and stuff in Mount Gox. The same story, that documentary on Netflix that I mentioned, same story with this. So now with the Mt. Gox repayment plan, that made they was going back and forth, but for right now, the most recent date that the creditors can make a claim and then determine tell them like how they want to get paid is early next year. So January, in the beginning of January, probably January 10th, but definitely in the beginning of January 2023, like of how they want to get paid. So, and it's coming too. But this is a red flag because, like if Bitcoin crashes, then most likely the crypto market is going to crash. Like we see this all the time too. And then, how this, like if the crypto market crash and then we see the stock market crash all of a sudden too. So, and then the reason why I'm talking about Bitcoin, like it may crash, is because people was like Mt. Gox was back then, probably like early 2010. I got to look up the date, but Mt. Gox was back then when Bitcoin was still way cheaper than what it is now, even though it's dropping. Like people was buying Bitcoin for cheap then. So what? So what if they get repaid? Then what's going to happen? Because I'm already hearing about people dumping when this when this was spreading that Mt. Gox may be repaying people for all that Bitcoin and possibly Bitcoin Cash that they lost. So there was already FUD right there and enough to make some stuff drop. But now they're talking about an actual date. So if people actually do get paid, all the creditors and stuff that were victims, then most likely they're going to try to get that money back. So most likely, just be thinking logically, they're going to dump all that, Bitcoin that they're going to get paid. The price of the Bitcoin may just drop to 11K just based on that because remember when I mentioned Richard Hart earlier, because he called the bottom for Bitcoin for like 10 or 11K, but he also mentioned the Mt. Gox repayment plan and he kept saying it on Twitter too. So he's thinking about that when he's talking about like Bitcoin dropping. Maybe that could be the reason, because he do be right. But I'm not saying he's right all the time. I'm just saying this is definitely a red flag that people can be losing some money. Because all of a sudden now they want to pay people back. And Bitcoin's already dropping already.
All that's a red flag. There's so many red flags.
Yeah, and then Tesla too. Because remember, when like good news and bad news, we talk about Tesla dumping too. Yeah. What if they know something we don't know?
Exactly.
They up there.
Yeah, they're people in power. Elon Musk is up there. People in power. He's gonna know some things more than something. He's gonna know a lot of things we don't know. Especially what's going on with the market, what's going on with the Mt. Gox repayment plan. Yeah, he might not talk about it, tweet about it, but I'm pretty sure he knows something about it. A little more than us.
Yeah, they usually know a lot more than the retail do. Like we got better than what we did now, but like if we was up where we like what they was at, we'd be dangerous, man.
Exactly. So yeah, I gotta remember, for people that do trades, passive investing, whatever, we are retail traders. We are retail investors. Like we're small time. We don't matter. We don't affect the market that much. We really don't affect the market. So what we do really doesn't matter. What people in the higher playing field, what they do, what they say, what they buy, what they sell, that does matter because they affect the market. We don't. Always remember that we do not affect the market. They do.
Yeah, unless we all of a sudden come together and then invest in one thing. But other than that, no, usually we don't even affect the market that much.
Yeah, we really don't.
It's always been, the same thing we've been told, the rich get rich, the poor get more, get even more poor.
Or you just think about a giant school of fish, and we're just all a school of fish, just moving in massive thousands of us, just thousands of us, even more than thousands, 100,000 of us moving at one time. When one shark come or one whale come, we all disperse. It's the whales and sharks that disturb the sea. They make the biggest splash in the sea. Those are the ones that make the splash. Watch out for these whales. Pay attention to the whales. Understand they know more than us. They make the splash in the sea. We just swim in their waters.
Exactly. They making the biggest splashes, with them stacks and
Yeah.
and all that gold that they got just smacking down. We throwing quarters and stuff, throwing rocks, skipping.
Exactly.
In comparison to them, nah, man. Yeah, they
Exactly.
definitely affect the market, man.
So
It's it's crazy.
it is crazy. So all these things are red flags. And before that, like I said, black swans. Remember, black swans are unpredictable. No one knew about them. Red flags, they give you an idea. It gives you a heads up, a hint, an exclamation mark on your head, like on like on
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid.
I
We
remember
all
that
know that famous sound.
game.
See the soldier look like,
uh,
yeah. He goes, hold up, wait a minute, what's going on here? You might not be able to do nothing about it, but you're aware of something going on. And sometimes that's the greatest piece of information right there, that you're aware of it. That's why I would say just be aware of certain things. Just be aware of certain things. So be careful of that.
yep, could save your life. You never know.
Exactly. It could save you
Like,
saving.
like for
That's
real, because this stuff is messing. This stuff messes with people's lives. For real, we're talking some serious stuff right here.
and messing with your money. That's what I'm saying. It could save you
That's
saving.
what you might. Oh man, like this is partially entertainment too, but like we literally educate you about this. We're
Exactly.
telling you to watch out here. For real, there's so many bells and red flags. It don't make no sense.
And what's funny is you can be aware of these things and still get caught up in the riptide of it. Like,
Yeah, that's how bad a black swan is for real. That like this is like what he said. That's and then you think about especially COVID. That's how bad it is.
yeah, we
Like
were
sometimes that oh my god.
highly unprepared for that because we didn't think we'd get hit with a pandemic like that. Not that
Mm-mm,
bad.
mm-mm.
So that's why we were unprepared for that. It was unknown. We was hit from the blind side from that. These things right here, you at least caught it within your peripheral view. Certain things are happening in the background. Certain things are happening behind the scenes. Please be aware of these things happening. Please be
Oh
aware.
yeah. Yep. That's the point of it too. Like and then we're just giving examples of like how to be aware already, like always, continue doing your research. If something don't sound right, investigate a little bit or just sit down and think about it a little bit. Like, wait a minute. Does that make any sense? Okay, what's going to happen?
And
So yeah.
another thing is, if you're wondering like how to get this information, sometimes you stumble upon this information. This is not something like I knew. I don't follow politics that much, so I didn't know about the HR 336. I don't know about Mount Gox repayment plan because I'm not too much into crypto. But Money is, so he knew about these things. I'm not into politics, but Quiver Quant was. He is, so I watched him. I listened to Money. Bearable Bull, he talks about all these things when it comes to cryptos. You have to watch certain people, not only us. That's why we give a shout out to Quiver Quant, Bearable Bull. Search up other people. Of course, not all information is good information. Nitpick what you want, back test research on what they said sometimes, but you got to expand your horizon and make more connections and get more people not to talk to you, but to research on, to listen to. Quiver Quan is one of them. Bearable Bull, and there's many others out there. Some I'm probably never even heard of. They'll give just as good information or better or things I would have never heard pertaining to anything, but they have something to do with stocks or crypto. So expand your horizon, research other people. It doesn't hurt to listen to other people. That's how I get a lot of my information sometimes, just listening to other people and doing my own research. Cause like for instance, you can look up like big news and stocks. All it's gonna tell you is what companies shot down in price, what companies are going up, Snap going down again. But it doesn't tell you stuff like this, like Mount Gox repayment plan, the HR 336. That necessarily doesn't have an absolute connection to stocks. but it does have an effect on stock. Like you get what I'm saying, right? So
Yep.
you can't just type up things that's happening in stocks today. It's just all it's going to tell you is what's going on as far as market prices within the what would you call it? The brokerage. So all I'm saying is,
Yeah.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, and then that's exactly what we do. Like don't be afraid to do both. You don't have to read, like just only read, but yeah, you can learn from people too because they can change the way you study. Like I know if I didn't come across like certain people over the years, I probably wouldn't be studying the same too. Like I still read, but I still watch videos also. So yeah, like Velli was saying, like you can combine the two, and then not only that, but actually think for yourself too. Like think on your own, and then
Right.
that right there, especially when I'm teaching people. Like I tell them to research. Like look at videos and read. It makes them more confident in what they're doing. Also, because if you have somebody just sitting there telling you what to do. Like we don't even want you to do certain things just because we told you to. Like if you just have somebody sitting there telling you what to do, then you're not going to be as confident in what you're doing, more than, if you was just seeing for yourself. Like we're just acting like a guide here,
Yeah.
and then not only that, you notice Velli's wearing a plain, like we're doing the Matrix thing. Velli's wearing the plain red shirt and I'm wearing the plain blue shirt, so it's like either the blue pill or the red pill here. So you wake up or go to sleep. We
Man,
ain't
what you
even
think
do
you
this
in
on
battle
purpose.
rap? You think you in battle rap? You start leading up like that hit me from the blast.
Kobe hit us from the blast. Blue shirt, so it's like either the blue pill or the red pill here. So you wake up or go to sleep. We
Man, what
ain't
you
even
think
do
you
this
in
on
battle
purpose.
rap? You think you in battle rap? You start leading up like that hit me from the blast.
Kobe hit us from the blast.
Talking about red pill or blue pill.
Yeah,
Oh,
red
no, this
pill or blue
wasn't in
pill.
the plan. What you talking about? Well, funny, I literally got
Oh,
all red on. Like I got red sweats, red lights.
I got a plain blue shirt.
You stupid,
Both
bro.
of them. Yeah, wake up or go back to sleep.
Anyway,
We in the Matrix.
anyway, it doesn't hurt to do research, even obscure ones. Like, let me give you an example. Like me and Money was just talking about recently. It's hard to purchase cars from dealerships now because how expensive they are. So a lot of people are moving into not moving into or kind of migrating to purchasing older vehicles because they can't afford the price of newer car models. The price is just literally too high. So a lot of people are migrating towards purchasing older vehicles, some that has a little more mileage than they will be comfortable with. Now that can be because of the market indirectly, things happening around the nation. I don't care if it's car parts or because the price of car parts, the price of manufacturing. It could be because of inflation, all those things, whatever it could be. The prices of cars are too high, so people are moving towards cheaper vehicles. Now, I didn't go search this up per se, but I got it from I got secondhand information. I got it from Money. I could go to a car dealership and be talking to a car salesman. And say, yeah, a lot of people are looking to buy older vehicles just because the prices are too high, such and such. Those could indirectly lead, not necessarily red flags, but giving you information. Again, you can talk to a construction worker or what do you call 'em? A foreman, and they're in charge of building houses, and they can tell you about the housing markets because they're the ones that build it. They're in the market. I don't know if a lot of people know it, but a lot of these new houses are cheaply made. They're extremely cheaply made. The materials they use, terrible, terrible. The houses that were made, say, 20 years ago, will hold up better than the newer houses that they build right now, just because of how cheap the material they use. Because they slap them together, hurry quick, get it on the market. We gotta get these houses made. We gotta hurry and finish the contract. Everything's cheaply made. Like when you go to these what are these channels? They tear down a house and fix it up and sell it and stuff like that. A lot of times,
Yeah.
um, I think I wasn't doing research. I just happened to just keep scrolling and reading that a lot of these houses deteriorate faster because they were so quickly put together. That could be another reason why the housing market the way it is now. So a lot of people are moving towards buying older homes. A lot of these new homes aren't bought, and some people are scared to buy these new homes because they know the quality of the house, the build quality itself is terrible. So I know that can affect the market. Maybe I can go trade in the real estate and somehow implement that into my plans, knowing that a lot of people aren't buying newer houses. You see how little things like that, because I talked to the forum or whatever the case was and found out that information. That's why I sometimes talk to certain people or just look up random stuff. It doesn't necessarily what's the price of the housing market right now. Reasons people aren't buying newer houses anymore. Reason people are moving towards older cars. It'll be things like that. But then you have obscure ones like the HR 336 plan that I wouldn't know unless I'm deeply into politics. But guess what? Quiver Quant is into politics. So I got that information from him, did a little bit of research and found out a little bit what's going on behind the details. So you don't necessarily have to go directly to news, certain news and stocks, certain news and crypto. Sometimes just talk to people and listen to certain people. Sometimes that's the only option you have sometimes to get more information. You can only get so much information doing your own research.
Yeah, that is true. And then when you come across different things, like Felly said, when you come across like how other people lay it out, and then when you're talking to them at that, it does help you. It can help you be better too, and then do your research better also, like better than what you would have did. Like like I said, if I ain't came across certain people or especially like on YouTube, because like there's a lot of crypto stuff on YouTube, Twitter too.
Yeah.
If I haven't came across certain sources, like I wouldn't even, yeah, I wouldn't even be researching like the way I am today. Like I can research way, like I can say I'm way better than I was a couple of years ago. Way better.
Most
I mean,
definitely. Same
yeah.
here, same here.
Oh, yeah. But over time, I just kept learning, and also, learn not only look into different sources, but know who to listen to too. Because that sometimes that's hard to explain too. Like sometimes you just gotta know who to listen to sometimes too.
Yeah, that's what I said. Sometimes you gotta weigh the water a little bit and figure out who. But
Yeah.
another thing, like with that too, like the example I gave with the housing market, you don't necessarily have to use that within trading stocks or trading cryptos. That can just save yourself. So now I know not to buy a newer model home or a newer model car. Maybe I need to move to an older model or older built house. You don't necessarily have to use that for trading. You can use that to your day to day life or whenever you make bigger decisions or giving advice or receiving advice. Sometimes you can fall back on that information and indirectly it can affect the market. So those are just things to look out for, and those are red flags just because you heard it from somebody else. Compare sources. Remember those old research papers you had to do in high school? You had to get a source. Compare this
Yep.
source to another source. Is this information holding up against this information? Who backed this information that you got it from? Write this source down. Is it credited by other people? Are there witnesses? All this stuff. It's like doing a research paper, not to the same extent and writing all down, showing it to your teacher and all that stuff. But this is just for you, for your personal life, because you're on your own and this is your responsibility now. And you gotta bear the consequences of everything that happened. So be in your best interest to do research in any way, shape, or form.
Yep. And that, like we can't stress it enough. That is very, very important. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that's deciding. You what you want to do, and then how you're going to end up too. And like plan, like just especially when you're going into the market. It's up to you. We can act like as a guy, but we can't really tell you what to do. So hopefully like you listen, and then you listen real carefully and actually learn from this and actually be able to do your own thing successfully too. because of us sharing our experiences too.
Exactly. So I always learn from somewhere. But again, this isn't financial advice. It's for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, we just like to talk about money.
Ain't that right, money?
Oh yeah, money talks too. Yeah, we try to get it to talk back right there. Try to get a conversation out of it at least. Get it to whisper. Read his lips. We can't hear it. Sign language, that too. Get it to communicate. Write something. Oh man.
But hey, this is episode 17, I guess.
Yeah, episode 17. Oh man, we're in the late season. We're getting close to this finale. But we'll share the updates on our Below Zero side series, and those of you that don't know, that's going to be in the description below. It's going to be on our social media, the social media version of us. If you want to connect with us that way on some behind the scenes stuff. But other than that though, this is Black Swans and Red Flags right here. And we're out. We're out right now.
Peace out, y'all. Enjoy yourselves.
Peace.
Peace.